Hey guys, Bo with the Bible here, back with another video. This one's going to be a little bit different than normal. So, in my Discord server, Countercurrent, we are doing this event that's going to be going for 9 days, where we memorize verses pertaining to Galatians 5:22 through 23, which is the fruits of the Spirit. And some of you who have been watching the channel for a while, if there are any people like that, would remember or might remember summer of 2020 when we did a similar event in another Discord server I used to have that we discontinued, where we did something kind of along those lines, but it was the Armor of God, and that was that series. So this is going to be really similar to that one, just obviously very similar, but a little bit different because different passage, slightly different topic, and just I think it's going to be some useful information for myself and hopefully for some people out there watching. So hello if you're from the server, hello if you're just watching the channel, if this got recommended to you or whatever. Hope you enjoy, and without further ado, let's go to Galatians 5:22 really fast. I'm going to make these videos probably pretty short, hopefully, so just get the information to you best I understand and call it a day. Galatians 5:22 says, or I'm going to read 22 through 23, but the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against such there is no law. So there's 9 things there, and then like I said before, we're going to be doing a video every day in a row for 9 days for each of those things. What are you doing? Anyway, so we're going to be doing a video on each of those things, like I said, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Nothing too complicated, I guess, but it's very useful stuff. So, firstly, obviously the first one on this list is love. So, we're looking at love today. Now, love, I think, is something that gets overused, like the word and the concept nowadays. Not in the correct way, but like just the word love gets overused by the world and by popular culture and just pop music and all that stuff. They all like to talk about breakups and love and all that stuff. And nowadays, love by the world is really just lust. But I have a script here. I got to read the definition of this. Love, and this is the word that's used in this passage, the Greek word for it, from G25, love that is affection or benevolence. Love is not really a feeling in the Bible so much as it is an action, as it is a state of being almost, as it is kind of it's a verb, not a noun or an adjective. You know, it's not a feeling, it's a thing, it's something you're doing, it's an action. Right? This word in the Greek is agape, and it's used 116 times in the New Testament. It's kind of where you get charity from as well. And I think charity is kind of the word here that might help click in your mind a little bit more. This love that this is talking about is not like, you know, having a crush on somebody. It's more, you know, kind of being charitable, love in action, right? So it's honestly, I don't even have to say anything. I'll just read 1 Corinthians 13, a couple verses here, starting in verse 1 through 7. Though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels and have not charity, I am become a sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal. And though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith so that I could remove mountains and have not charity, I am nothing. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned and have not charity, it profiteth me nothing. Charity suffereth long, and is kind. Charity envieth not. Charity vaunteth not itself, is not puffed up, doth not behave itself unseemly, seeketh not her own, is not easily provoked, thinketh no evil, rejoiceth not in iniquity, but rejoiceth in the truth, beareth all things, believeth all things, hopeth all things, endureth all things. Does that sound like, you know, your grade school crush? No, it does not, because it's two different things. And that's the love we're talking about today. So when I say love, think of that. Don't think of, you know, oh, this person makes me feel nice when I look at them or whatever. No, we're talking about real love, love that matters, the love that God had when He sent His Son to die for us, right? So we see now what love is. We see how love is defined. It's a charity. It's an action. It's a state of being where you're going somewhere. You're moving. You're not just sitting there, you know, thinking about, oh, this person's so great. No, it's really it's an action. Right? So love in action now. What does love look like when you have it, when it's in action? When you have this fruit of the Spirit, what is it going to look like? Well, firstly, John 14:15, if you love me, keep my commandments, right? So if you have love and you love God, you're going to do what he says. If you really love him. Not if you feel nicely about him, not if you consider him an all right guy, not if you are not if you're even saved. It doesn't mean that you're, really, it doesn't mean you really love God. You love God when you obey him. And that's the way that we show our love to God, right? We can say we love God, and he knows that we have an affection towards him, but if we're not really, actively doing anything for him, do we really love him? No, we don't. And that's true for anything, God or humans, If you love somebody, you're going to do things to make them feel good, you're going to do things special for them, all that stuff, because you love them. And firstly, I guess just to get this out of the way, to any of my viewers watching that aren't saved, that haven't had a specific time when they asked Jesus to be their Savior, I would say you can't love. It's impossible. That's why it's foolish when, people in the world, people of the LGBTQ community, and, anybody, even just, straight people, when they say they love somebody, they can't love. They don't know what love is. They can lust. They can have, an affection towards a person. They can do nice things, but they cannot love, because we can't love without God's help. You can't love. If you don't know God, you can't love. It's impossible. You have to be saved to be able to properly love. You might do love-ish things, but you're never going to properly love unless you're saved. So that's kind of love defined. That's some love in action now. But how do you get love, right? So we see that love is an action. We see that when you love somebody, you're going to actually do things for them. You're going to obey them, if it's God or whatever it may be, your parents. You're going to do nice things. You're going to treat them right. You're going to really put your life on the line for them if it comes down to it, if you really love somebody. But now, how do you obtain that love? Well, it's a fruit of the Spirit, which means in order to get that love, with all these things, you have to be walking in the Spirit. Now, I think with love, we're supposed to love our enemies, right? So what does that mean? That means doing nice things for them, right? That means treating them nicely. That means caring about them. That doesn't just mean, being all right with them. That means actively looking for chances to help them somehow, right? And so how do you do that? You do it, right? God doesn't tell us to feel nicely about our enemies and then love them, and then do things for them. He says just love them. So if you have somebody you don't like, what's the word I'm looking for? Uncomfortable truth is that you need to go and do things for them until you feel that love. That's how you begin to love somebody. You can make yourself love people. And that's a weird thing to say, but it's true. Scripturally, how do you love your enemies if they're mean to you and they're, evil and they do horrible things? How are you going to love those people? I think often we think that we wait for this emotion to pop up. No. You just act like you love them and eventually you will begin to love them. That's how it works. And while you're trying to act like you love them and you're trying to treat them like you would somebody you love, here's some encouragement. I think I've quoted this verse many times on this channel, but Philippians 2:13, for it is God which worketh in you both to will and to do of his good pleasure. If you wouldn't love for somebody, God commanded that, so that's something you can ask for in confidence, knowing that he will give it to you. Right? If it's something God commanded, if you pray for it, he's going to give it to you. He wants you to have it anyway. So you pray to God for that love, and you act like you love them, even while you don't particularly care for something. And that's something I've found true in my life. Doing things I don't particularly like. If I'm trying to treat my parents right, for instance, and I'm supposed to do a certain thing, it's not always fun, but I've found that when I just push through and do it, and trust God to give me the desire and the enjoyment of that thing, because we're supposed to do it with a good attitude, I try to act like I have a good attitude, and eventually God will give me a real good attitude to where I actually enjoy whatever I'm doing, even if it's a mundane thing. And that's something we can have in our lives. We don't have to live, obviously sometimes you just got to ignore your feelings and go for it, but God will give you that desire eventually. If you keep pushing forward, he will give you that desire. That's something that he's promised. He'll give you the will. So I guess in conclusion, love is more of an action than an emotion. It's an action. We do it for our enemies, we do it for our family, we do it for people that we're in love with, in the sense of the word that's used nowadays, where you like somebody, right? But at the end of the day, you can't know love if you don't know God, and once you know God, you're commanded to love. And that's good for you, and that's good for the person you're loving. So, let's get out there and do some loving, right? How do we know that you're a Christian? Well, I forget the exact way the verse is worded, but more or less, the Bible says this is how the people will know that you're my disciples, if you have love one for another. So how do people know that we're real, we're legitimate as Christians? We gotta love. Not the sense of feeling nicely, no, action, right? Hopefully this cleared some things up for you, and I'll be seeing you in the next 8 days, hopefully, or whichever episodes you decide to tune into. God bless.